Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here's your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Well, welcome this morning to Faith in Our Hometown. We're glad that you joined us this morning for a conversation about matters of faith and culture and what's going on in the greater Joplin area. This morning, my guest is going to be Dr. Norm Ritter. Dr. Ritter is the interim superintendent of schools here in the Joplin area. I guess your tenure is starting to tick down here pretty soon.
9 months.
There you go.
Counting the days.
So there you go. So at any rate, we're going to talk a little bit this morning about the health of the Joplin Public Schools. We're going to talk a little bit about what I think must be a common sense approach to a lot of things, because I don't read a lot of controversy in the paper and those kinds of things. But really, we're going to just take a little bit of a temperature on our public school system and some of the issues that might be surrounding that are creeping in terms of issues that we might talk about in terms of faith and some of the things that might be of a challenge to our school system or to other school systems around the area. But we will be right back in just a few moments. We're going to cut for a moment to our Mercy Minute, so stay tuned.
Find out how a Mercy doctor can take care of you. At Mercy, your life is our life's work. Quality, safety, and an exceptional patient experience. Mercy is grateful to be recognized as one of the top 15 health systems in the United States. At Mercy, your life is our life's work.
Well, welcome back to Faith in Our Hometown. Our guest this morning is Dr. Norm Ritter, who's the interim superintendent of schools here in the Joplin area. So, Dr. Ritter, welcome to the program. This is your first appearance with us.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, those who might not know at this point in time?
Sure. I'm a farm boy from Nebraska. Second oldest of 12, born in 13 years. Really went to town about once a year. And so kind of learned how to live in a community really well. We lived in a Catholic community, very German Catholic. And if you drove through that community, if you weren't Catholic by the time you left, there was something wrong with it. So anyway, that's where I grew up. I'm married, have a wife who lives in Arvada, Colorado right now, because we were on our way there as somebody pulled us down here, pulled me down here to kind of help the situation out here in Joplin. And we have 5 children, the 5 children, boys on both ends, girls in the middle. About 3 of those are Division I athletes, and really didn't count on that. We want them to be theater and others, but didn't happen.
We're all athletes instead.
Yeah. And so anyway,
and that's the old Notre Dame tie.
Yeah, that's my oldest. Yeah, my oldest played offensive line for Notre Dame, played for the Colts. But anyway, and then we have 6 grandchildren. Just recently, here in the last month, 2 of them came into this world, and girls, and one was premature by 5 weeks, one was late by 10 days, and they were going to go the opposite. But anyway, an exciting time, exciting travels.
Those kids will do what they want to do.
That's exactly right. They come when they want to come.
They come when they want to.
And so then we had another one that was born about December, and hey, best kids in the world, smart. Really intelligent.
Smart, above average, intelligent, beautiful. Yeah. You know, you don't sound prejudiced like your grandpa at all.
Not at all. Anxious to get to be amongst them and to get back there. So about 9 more months.
Yeah. So you're come close to the end of your tenure. You know, here among us. You were in Springfield before here.
I was in Melville, South County, St. Louis.
Oh, that's right.
Doing the same type of stuff.
Okay.
In other words, going in there, kind of fixing things up a little bit, and then eventually. Was called here, and by people from this community, really kind of called me into this, and eventually, well, really I should tell you the story, 6 days, retired, 6 days.
You were retired for six whole days?
6 whole days, and I was starting to get calls from Joplin, and my wife she's a major quilter, and she's downstairs, and I've been free for 6 days, so I was overlooking her shoulders, and she stood up one day, grabbed my shirt, and she says, "Get a job." And so the next day I get another call, and so I accept it based on that threat.
Based on that threat.
Yeah,
not
based on
bad.
that threat, yeah.
Well, in this, I'm speaking, a little prejudicially here, okay? But I think we've been, mostly blessed by your presence.
Well, thank you.
I think that, you came at a time where there was a lot of, uproar and, people fussing with each other. And one of the things that I certainly think that you've done is you've been a bit of a peacemaker in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
Good biblical value, but you did it at a school system, and you did it fairly well.
Oh yeah, I've learned a lot. But also I hope I brought a lot to this community.
Well,
so.
good. Because one of the things that I've always been very pleased about is, with the exception of a few periods of time, and especially where the students are concerned, we just don't. I mean, I do a lot of reading, because I just I'm continually scanning the culture to see what's popping up, and one of the things that I read is a periodical called The Week, and it's a news digest. It basically takes all kinds of news clips from the right, from the left, different opinions, and gives both perspectives, and then just tries to say, well, now you make up your own mind. And I like that. I like the varying perspectives. I like the different views, and then I can put them together and figure out my own thing. But one of the things that many times appears in here are little clips about furor that's emerging in this school system or that school system, or somebody winds up in the media because this administrator did this, and I just got to say that one of the things that I have been pleased with, now maybe it's because I'm just across the street from you and there's no smoke coming from the building, but there seems to be a good common sense approach to just the way that you deal with situations, that you deal with furor and uproar, because there's always some in a school, what the heck, but it does seem that you guys seem to just take it all in stride, and we don't hit the news too much for that everybody wants to string up this administrator or that administrator, because everybody seems to have a pretty even approach. Now, I know that can't be true in every moment of every day, and I know that not all administrators are created equal. I know all that, but nonetheless, I'm just saying you guys do a pretty good job of responding to things as they emerge. Any reason for that?
Oh, there is. Basically, we have good kids, very good kids. Very impressed with them. Good families, good community, great community. Just didn't know what they didn't know as far as how to really be good. And so really what public schools, Catholic schools, private schools all struggle with, top-down type of control. And so when you have top-down type of control, you have fear and blame in your system. And it was steeped in that when I came. And so really what you have to do is find out what the community wants. And we did a lot of work, scientific work, to be able to do that. And we found out that the community really wants the best for its kids, wants its kids to perform at grade level. But the one thing that really came out of all the research, teachers, students, parents, as well as the community, is they wanted us to deal with their behavior.
Okay.
And really what's kind of interesting is I'm steeped in the background of behavior because of my work with Father Flanagan's Boys Home in Omaha, Nebraska, the flagship of dealing with at-risk kids. And we found there that get the kids to understand what it means to really have good relationships, to be able to listen well, and to really be able to understand what it means to have a genuine concern for others. When you get them to that point, literacy, numeracy's easy. Piece of cake.
Just goes right up.
Yep. And so when we started targeting that last year and putting that in place, we identified really 2 behaviors, basic behaviors, and we're really focusing on those behaviors starting this year. It still needs a lot of work. And that is greeting, relationships, greeting, okay? And in greeting, really, it's being able to pay attention and to have that eye contact and be able to listen so that you gather that person's name, but really start to understand that person. And then as far as following instructions is to be able to listen. And in the listening piece is to make sure you know and understand what is expected of you. And so really the key thing though in this whole behavior focus is really, the key is communication. Once you can understand communication, have that genuine concern for others, a sense of curiosity, then you get the collaboration, then you get the critical thinking, then you get the creativity. And so really we're very basic. And what's interesting is we started the year with that focus, and it's really been really awesome as far as the behavior in our schools. It really does come down to having that humble, service, curious type of attitude, and really you can't have that if you don't have good feeling about yourself. And so we really had to work on that very, very hard with our adults, because the adults closest to the children have to learn more than the kids and really have to be able to have the role models. So what we had to do was push all of the resources from central office, all the resources to that classroom. And then eventually the teacher in the classroom is really the one that's the most intelligent. So we had to empower that teacher.
Right.
And the teacher in turn has to empower the student. And when that happens, it's amazing how everything starts to become more engaged. And that's really what's happened. And we did it in short order, but really, it really won't be fine-tuned for another 5 years. It takes that long to turn this around. So that's how we did it.
Well, I love it. I love it when kids start believing in themselves, knowing that they're something, entering those relationships, you know, not as a servile person to a teacher, but knowing that the teacher knows more than they do, but respecting that, and at the same time, that teacher giving that student, you know, just plenty of room to run with something, and you know, and to ask questions and to do those things, and then eventually to that spot where they suddenly believe they can do whatever, and they just go after it and do it. I love watching kids blossom and bloom that way.
Oh, I was in a school today that has really got it, and it's an elementary school, and you walk into every classroom, the kids are engaged, they want to introduce themselves, they want to really have a conversation with each other, and they're problem solving as they're going. We're talking kindergarten, we're talking first grade. And then when I was in the high school, later this afternoon, no, it was earlier this morning, what I always want to do in the high school is watch the faces of the kids. If there's a smile, you've got engagement. But if you can tell kids are looking down, then you got some issues. And then what I do is I do a head count, and I look at the percentage. And if we have kids, if over 50% of the kids are smiling, we're in good shape. But if not, so today I was checking that out, we're at about 65%. 70%, which is pretty good.
Unofficial, just
just random. It's called human-centered design. It's just random heads.
Well, we're going to come right back. We're going to take a little break. This is Faith in Our Hometown.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
So welcome back. Our guest this morning is Dr. Norm Ritter, who's been the interim superintendent of schools. We were just talking about your informal, assessment today as you're walking through and seeing how many kids engaged with you. One of my favorite things to do, and of course I don't really get to do it too much in the public school, but I guess certainly get to do it in the Catholic schools, and that is just to be in the hallway when they change classes. I love doing the same thing. I just love seeing they're engaged, and and little kids coming up and high fives and hugs and jokes and and all that kind of good stuff. I love it. I just love being around them when that energy's there, because I just feel like a more whole human being when I walk out of that situation. Because most of the time when I'm going in, I'm kind of like, by the time I get out, I'm feeling charged up. There's a few little quirky things here that again, I was talking earlier about this whole common sense approach to life and everything. And I just pulled a couple of little things that I've clipped in the last, few weeks. Back in September, a couple of these. From September the 2nd, the whole transgender fight, transgender bathrooms and those kinds of things. We live in a culture where sometimes folks are trying to figure out who they are and what is all that about. Some kids actually get convinced that they were born or typed in the wrong way, or they want to express that in a different way. And, we don't necessarily have to get into all the politics of that. But again, part of the fight's been, do we allow those kids to use, restrooms the way how they feel, or do we allow those kids to use restrooms, where they're biologically, in those things? And I've never heard a blip yet from the Joplin schools, so I'm figuring you guys have figured out a common sense approach.
We have.
Yeah, and so you're not in the news.
No.
Congratulations. No. So how do you deal with those kinds of things in a school system? Because Joplin's not any more immune to kids having to struggle with those things than any other community.
Yeah, and that's in that situation with what our size community, we have some kids like that. Okay.
Sure.
And basically, the way we respond is we have 5 unisex bathrooms in the high school, and they were there.
They were there
built there with the high school, and so basically it gives that assurance and that comfort. So we really haven't had any problems. Now we've had parents concerned about that, both sides of the issue, and all of them are very, very comfortable because, hey, we deal with it as it comes forward.
Right.
I had a conversation with the Governor Nixon probably about 3 months ago, and I asked him about that. I says, what are you going to, he says, hey, in Missouri, we're just going to wait and see what happens, and then we're going to respond accordingly. I says, that's what we're doing here. It's what the local community wants. That's what we're going to do.
Right.
So please, Governor, don't do anything to us. Please work with us. And so that's pretty much what he's doing, and that's what we're doing. And so
that's a very common sense Missouri approach.
It really is.
It really is.
It really is.
You know, because you do want to be sensitive to the kids that are struggling with the issues, and you don't want to make them feel bad. You don't want to feel isolated. You don't want to make them feel threatened. We want to be loving, you know, in our response to all of our kids.
That's correct.
Whatever their issues happen to be, whatever they're struggling with. So we're sensitive. And I just appreciate the just comments. All right, we've got these 5. We're letting them use them. Everybody's feeling comfortable. Nobody's feeling threatened.
And anybody can use those 5 facilities, and it works really well.
Great.
It really does.
You know, and so my estimation of our good common sense approach here is working. You know,
I'm really kind of anti-policy because a lot of times people create policy when you don't need it, and that's really what's kind of happening.
Yeah.
And so you stop it.
Yeah.
Really, do we need this or not? No, we don't. Well, then why policy? So that's what we did. And we had a conversation with my parent forum. I have forums, and we meet monthly and have conversations around these types of things. And the parents said, nah, don't deal with it. You know, and just basically leave it alone. And the kids were really wanting us to leave it alone.
Yeah.
Because they really love each other, they respect each other, and they respect their differences, and that's where it's at. The kids need that.
That's a healthy school system when the kids love and respect each other and want to look out for each other.
That's exactly right.
I mean, I think that's our kids are to be commended.
Yep.
You know.
Yes, they are.
You know, actually, most of the time I'm gonna go out on a limb here, but I'm gonna say it anyway. But you know. Most of the time, kids can work more things out. It's only when we get the parents involved sometimes that we wind up with more furor than maybe
I had to merge 2 districts in Nebraska, okay? And we were struggling for about over a year and a half, and then all of a sudden it hit me. So I brought the kids from the 2 districts together, and it was over.
You done?
It was over. It was over.
Yeah. Well, this is another one with like a tire. This was from September the 9th, an issue, and it was on a tire. So in an Arizona high school, the student was told they couldn't wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt because it was disruptive. You know, and again, I mean, when you start using nebulous words like disruptive, how do you even measure that? You know, is difficult. So this particular kid was sent to the office, the principal's office, and given a blank white t-shirt to wear. And of course, the student said, "A white T-shirt that's meaningless has nothing to do with what I'm standing for."
Right.
But still,
that was
school
ironic.
officials. See, I know exactly. School officials. That's why I read it. School officials said her shirt posed a potential danger to students.
Yeah.
I mean, do we have issues with a tire at Joplin?
Well, I tell you, to be honest with you, adults do, but the kids don't. And so really, usually when we have something like that, we bring the kids together. Have the kids help us with the decision. It's very easy to make. And so kids don't want to see alcohol shirts around.
Right.
You know, it's distracting and disturbing.
Sure.
And other, like Satan type of stuff is distracting, and so that's disturbing as well.
It's scary to some.
It's scary to some. But then you do have the Harry Potter stuff, and that's not so bad. And so basically, it is kind of a fine line, but the kids help us a lot with that. And so basically, that's really what it is. Really, what we want on our kids is clean, good-looking clothes that really helps them reflect who they are, and that's what it's really all about.
Yeah, of course, in Catholic schools we have, we don't do any slogan-y type things. We don't even let them wear the religious ones, and we're a religious school. But we just kind of care to keep everything, just everybody kind of in a basic uniform. I get that they've got some chances to choose. I always like it when they start fighting about the uniform and they start asking me what I think. I say, you don't want to know what I think. And they're just like, well, why not, Father Jay? And I'm just like, well, because I think you'd all look good in ties and blazers every day.
That's what I always tell them. That's what I even tell our kids at Joplin High School. When they dress up, they says, it's not bad. It's a good feeling.
You look good.
It's a good feeling.
And that's why I always tease them. It's just, I love it when they have dress-up days, and they're all wearing ties and they all look sharp. And I just look when I say, you guys look really good today.
In Colorado Springs, we had a school that was 100% free and reduced, total poverty. And eventually a private business donated the uniforms. And so they always donated washer and dryer, everything like that. So we would keep them clean and everything. And all of a sudden, the kids' spirit just went, phew. Their learning went better and everything like that because they all looked the same. Yeah. They didn't come in wearing their shirt maybe for 3 weeks or wearing shoes with holes in them and stuff like that. And so we basically found that the uniform was a big, big thing, a very, very important thing, an exciting thing for that culture. Yeah. And so it's more about the culture and the excitement of being able to fit into that culture is what helps that child. So. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, we've long known that's one of our, we just know it's an equalizer. And when you're trying to build community, some equalizer. I mean, you don't want kids not to have any opportunity to express themselves or to have a little bit of shine or sparkle to their personality or something. But the deal really was, it's just like, how can we all realize that we're all in this together? We're all in the same place. We're all doing the same thing. Nobody's better than anybody else. You may be better at math, but you may be better at soccer. Fine, go do it. But we're all pretty much going to be the same when we come to that table, and it's a good thing.
That's pretty much what that's what that does for the kids and for that community. So it's very powerful.
Yeah. Well, our kids hate them, or say they do, but they like them better than they know they do.
My daughters went from Omaha, Nebraska, wearing uniforms in a high school, and then they went to Denver and complained because everybody had all the fancy clothes and everything like that. And they didn't want to wear fancy clothes, and so they wanted uniforms. And they were complaining about it in Omaha. It was really interesting. Interesting transition.
Well, I got one more quick thing. We got a couple minutes here. Clubs. There's a new movement afoot that there are some folks who, as kind of a reaction to, and maybe an attempt to, kind of a covert attempt to try to get all religious clubs shut down at schools. Because they see a lot more faith-based clubs, and they feel like some of them feel their kids' rights are kind of being a little bit infringed on. And so there's been a movement in some places to start satanic clubs. Now, let's be real clear about this. We're not talking about actually worship of a devil or some evil spirit. These clubs really basically don't believe in any deity, but they just really want a rational club, with no idea or no belief in any kind of a higher power or any of those kinds of things. But they're doing this as kind of a movement to kind of shake the rafters a little bit and say, well, we'd like all of the religious stuff pulled out. And again, we run religious schools because we want to do it our way.
That's correct.
And that's our right to do it when we do that. And ourselves and people like College Heights, we got the ability to do those things. Or the Lutheran schools. Okay, we got the ability to do those things. But what about this? Or is this going to be an issue here in Joplin, do you think? Think somebody's going to try it?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the thing that we have in Joplin is activities that support academics or athletics or those types of things. And so as far as, we do have a fellowship of Christian athletes that is student run and basically been there a long time. Right. So I think there's a little bit of that, but outside of that, no, I don't think so. Now, when I was in Springfield, we had some students that wanted to do that, but it was really 1 or 2 students and never did get any traction.
Never got any traction?
Never got any traction. Yeah. And so basically, you really got to listen to what the students want, and really the students will take care of themselves, to be honest with you.
Right.
And so it's a matter of service.
And I think it's great that you're including the students in those conversations, about, what should we pay attention to? What should we be doing? And I think if you continue to do that, like I say, I think that the kids will help solve some of their own issions.
That's right.
Within that context.
Kids are smart.
Yeah, well, a lot smarter than sometimes we give them credit for.
And kids want a safe culture. They really do.
Yeah.
And so when you start getting those types of clubs, that means it's starting to get unsafe. That means they're having to challenge what you have in your system. So safety is really a very powerful thing.
Well, I had a laugh. Our bishop was here a few weeks ago and was talking. We had spent a little time at the high school, and when he got finished, he goes, "You got some really good kids over there." And I said, "Well, of course, they're our kids. What do you figure? Yeah. I said, "Don't sound so shocked about all that." So at any rate, we've been here with Dr. Norm Ritter, and we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. Stay tuned.
By the way,
if you are a smoker, you need to do anything in your power to try to stop smoking, because that's probably the biggest risk factor for lung cancer. Ways to help you quit smoking are either using nicotine patches, nicotine gum. There are other medications that your doctor can prescribe to help you quit smoking, such as Wellbutrin or Chantix. There are also smoking cessation programs. We don't know the long-term consequences of e-cigarettes right now, and because of that, they cannot be recommended as a substitute for regular cigarettes. At the end of the day, we would like you to be off of all nicotine products if possible.
Well, thanks for joining us this morning for Faith in Our Hometown. Our guest this morning has been Dr. Norm Ritter, who is the interim superintendent of schools here for the Joplin Public Schools. And we've been having a very, I think, a very entertaining conversation this morning about the quality of our kids, really, is what it boils down to, and the quality of our community. Because when you engage everybody in the conversation about what the community wants, and you let those values rise to the surface, you wind up with a whole lot fewer problems in terms of the way people get along and the way that they build community. Now, wouldn't it be great to take that as our example for living life as a larger community anyway, in terms of the way all of our churches interact with one another? If we could continue to do those things with each other, I think we'd be a few steps further down the road at really appreciating each other and making the community a better place to live and be. This morning, we've been talking about our success and the lack of problems that we have in our schools. I think that we hopefully that will bleed to the rest of the community in every area and facet of our lives. Thanks for joining us this morning. Come back again. This is Faith in Our Hometown.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.